Welcome to everyone. This week video will cover the SP500, the gold market, and the US dollar. This update will be for the week of December 11, 2023. Before we start, make sure you read carefully the disclaimer. Let's start with the SP500. The 40-week cycle. The SP500 keep trading above his cycle line. For now this cycle's still bullish. The success rate is 100%. The 20-week cycle. With the this week high 4,609.23, as expected in the past updated the SP500, found resistance on his previous July high at 4607. The 4852 target still valid, as long the SP500 stay above his cycle line. The potential profit if trading this cycle is 374 points or 8.35%. The success rate for this cycle is 100%. The 80-day cycle. The peak for this 80-day cycle is in formation. We can expect the SP500 form his peak this week. The low is still expected in the first weeks of January 4, 2024. If trade the 80-day cycle, from the November 3 signal, the potential profit was an average of 180 points or 4.18% in 12 days. The success rate for this cycle is 100%. The 40-day cycle. The last week 4568 peak was the 40-day cycle peak. On November 30th, the SP500 made the 40 days low as expected, right on time. The next low is expected to form on January 4, 2024. During the next 40 days low formation, the SP500 should cross below his cycle lines, providing a downside target zone. Here are the cycles lines for this week and their potential targets. The last signal was on November 8, when the SP500 crossed above his cycle lines at 4357 and 4361. For a potential profit, respectively of 253 and 257 points or 5.81% and 5.9%. The success rate for this cycle is 81.82%. The 20 days cycle. This 20 days cycle low occurred on November 30th. The next low for this cycle is expected on December 17th. During the next 20 days formation, the SP500 should cross below his cycle line. The success rate for this cycle is 89.47%. The 10 days cycle. This 10 days low is scheduled for December 7th. The next low is expected on December 14th. The success rate is 100%. Now let's see the gold market. Just as reminder, to analyze the gold market, I use the GLD ETF. There is no major change on the long-term picture. The 20-week cycle. The 194.06 target should be reached on the next rally after the 80-day cycle low formed on December 17th. The next low for the 20-week cycle can be expected during the third week of February 2024. The success rate is 100%. The 80-day cycle. There is a high probability the December 1st high at 192.40 is the 80-day cycle peak. This 80-day cycle low is still scheduled between December 12th and 14th. The success rate for this cycle is 62.5%. Now, the gold ETF should find support on his cycle lines. Then the market will rebound and resume his uptrend on his way to form the 20-week cycle peak. If we took the weekly signal in mid-October, and if the market reaches target, this will be almost $13 or 7% of profits on almost 2 months. The 40 days cycle. The last week high at 192.40 was the 40 days cycle peak. The profit was $6.80 or 3.66%. The next low for this cycle is still expected on December 14th. The success rate for the 40 days cycle is 100%. The GLD ETF should now cross below his cycle line, providing a potential downside target on his way to the 80 days cycle low. There is a high probability the market will find support on the 80 days cycle lines. Here are the cycle lines for this week and their potential targets, and profits if the gold ETF cross below them this week. The 20 days cycle. The last 20 days cycle low was expected on November 30th. On November 30th, the 20 days cycle formed a low, right on the time target. The next one is scheduled for December 17th. Today, the GLD ETF crossed below his cycle line at 187.93. For a potential target at 183.46 or $4.47, or 2.37%. The success rate is 92.86%. The 10 days cycle. On December 4th, the GLD ETF crossed below his cycle line at 188.52. Providing a potential downside target at 184.64, $3.88 or 2.06% of potential profits. The low for this 10 days cycle is expected on December 10th. The success rate for this cycle is 85.71%. Let's finish this update with the US dollar index. The 40-week cycle. For this 40-week cycle, there is nothing new from last week update. To get more details, I recommend to watch last week update. The 20-week cycle. The last expected target at 102 have been met on November 29th. This should be the 20 weeks low. The success rate is 75%. Otherwise, there is no change from the last week update. The 80 days cycle. The low at 102 was at least the 80 days cycle low, perhaps even a higher degree. The next low is expected on February 8, 2024. During the next rally, the US dollar should cross above his cycle line, confirming the 80 days cycle low, and providing an upside target for a potential profits. If the market do not cross above his cycle line, and use as resistance, this will confirm there is some bearishness coming into the US dollar market. The success rate for the 80 days cycle US dollar is 83.33%. The 40 days cycle. The next US $40 days low is expected around January 3, 2024. The US dollar should cross above his cycle line and provide an upside target zone. On Wednesday, the US dollar crossed above the first cycle line, but just as reminder, to be a valid signal, the US dollar have to cross both of them. Here are the resistance lines for this week, and their potential targets if the market cross above his cycle lines this week. The success rate for this cycle is 100%. The 20 days cycle. The next US $20 days cycle low is still scheduled for December 16th. Last week I mentioned the US dollar should cross above his cycle line. On December 5th, the US dollar crossed above his cycle line at 103.59 and 103.70. Providing an upside target zone between 105.01 and 105.23, or a potential profit between $1.53 and $1.42, or 1.48 and 1.37% respectively. This confirmed the November 29th is at least a 20 days cycle low. This crossing should confirm the 40, 80 days and 20 weeks low on November 29th. The success rate is 100%. The 10 days cycle. In my last week update, I was expected the market cross above his cycle line and provide an upside target. On December 1st, the US dollar crossed above his cycle line at 103.40 for a potential target at 104.34 or a potential profit of 94 cents, or 0.91%. On December 6th, the US dollar made a high at 104.23, just 11 cents below his target. The target is considered met. This 10-day cycle was expected on December 7th, Thursday, and found support on his cycle line. The next one on December 14th and should cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target. Here are the cycle lines for this week with their potential targets. The success rate for the 10-day cycle is 96.3%. In conclusion, we still have some bullishness in the SP500, but the SP500 should start some correction for the 80-day cycle. The gold market is still in bullish trend, but in corrective phase, we expected the 80 days cycle low to form. As expected, the US dollar should start a new uptrend. This is the end of this week video. Thank you for following me. Next week, I will publish another market update. If you like this video, don't forget to click on the like button, subscribe and click on the bell to make sure you don't miss any future videos.